Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to the 111th edition of Samatvan in Vrindavan, Bangalore. This is an offering from Sri Sathya Sai alumni and Sri Sathya Sai organization. Today we are very fortunate to have Sri M.G. Nandagopal sir. Their family knew Shirdi Baba very well. Nandagopal sir first met Bhagwan Baba in 1965. Sir joined the Sathya Sai Arts, Science and Commerce College in 1977. He was among the chosen few to do the M.Com course. Under the special guidance of Bhagwan Baba, he did the library science course in 1985-86 and later joined the institute as assistant librarian. We all know the famous Bhajagovindam drama. Our Nandagopal sir was among the fortunate few to be a part of this prestigious drama and share his memorable experiences. There was also another pleasant surprise. During one of the bhajan sessions in Vrindavan, Swami addressed him personally as Ni Peru Nandagopala. So here was the divine Gopala addressing our own Nandagopal sir. Sri Nandagopal sir believes everything is his glory. The ever youthful Nandagopal sir looked young even in 1988 when I was a student. Maybe it's the Vedam chanting, maybe it's the company of the young children, and maybe it is the company of Bhagwan Baba which gives him this ever youthful look. Without taking much time. So 1965 to 2020, all the glorious experiences with our Bhagwan Baba, the divine Gopala's experiences will be shared by our own beloved Nandagopal sir. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Brother Navneethan, for those kind words and for setting the perspective right that we are what we are because of Swami's presence in our lives. Sai Ram to every one of you. I'm sure you also must be offering your pranams at this Samarpan session. As I narrate my experiences, my journey with Sai in this ambience of Vrindavan, I'm sure you too would have been witness to lots of darshans and relate to lots of interactions you have had in this place. So I will urge you to do a small exercise along with me, not to lose the focus on my narration, but as and when some memories, some experiences pop out in your head, please jot down on the side and later on elaborate these memories of yours which you had with Swami to some near and dear ones or some relatives, or even send it to Radio Sai Vrindavan, because by the end of this talk, those things which have popped out might fade away. When you remember that in elaborateness, it be your memories for posterity, your treasure which you would have had with Swami here in Vrindavan. So way back in 1965, when my father got transferred from Bombay to Jaipur, state of Rajasthan, he sent my mother and my two elder brothers to Puttaparthi for Swami's darshan. My memory of that visit was of lots of smoke filled in the air. Later on, of course, which I came to know that it was Vibhuti Abhishekam. Incidentally, when I clarified with my brother, he said that it was in the month of February, on the occasion of Shivaratri, that we had visited Puttaparthi, stayed down for about 15 days there, and then witnessed these events in which Vibhuti Abhishekam was done in the thatched hut of that Purnachandra hall. It has not been completed yet. It was in the process of completion. So that was the memory which I had of Puttaparthi. Much later, in the year 1972, my eldest brother got a chance to attend the first summer course here in Vrindavan from Jaipur, state of Rajasthan. He also got a chance on one of those days to read out the summary of the day's proceedings. We went back, and in the year 1973, Swami having visited Delhi, from there he came on to Jaipur for a period of 3 days. By then we had enrolled ourselves in Bal Vikas, and I had got a chance to be part of a program which we put away in front of Swami, and Swami was very happy with it. Later on, my parents and myself had a chance to come to Vrindavan in the year 1974. And in this very place, when we were standing there for darshan, the seed thought occurred. Seeing those students who were standing next to the college, old Kalyan Mandapam, next to Swami's residence. How nice it would be if I am on that side. That was a thought which had just occurred, seeing those students very beautifully standing and Swami walking in front of them, conversing with them, and then coming over to this side of Sairam Shed. That time, of course, Saraswati was facing west in front of the hostel, and with the road expansion which happened and the hall expansion also, Swami got Saraswati shifted and faced her to the east, very significantly facing the hostel, saying that when my boys come out and go in to the hostel, they should have Saraswati Mata's darshan. It's always for Swami that every one of us should have a focus in whatever we have to do. With every act of Swami's, it was a hidden message or an explicit message inbuilt into it. In the year 1977, my second brother got a chance to be part of the summer course here in Vrindavan. By that time, the new college building had come up, this hostel also had come up, and that was when my thought got fructified when I got a chance to put in my application to join the Vrindavan College. Even as I put my application, I got a chance to sit as an attendee beside my brother, who had the Upanayana ceremony done by Swami himself in the library building, in the very place which would be later on my station of life. Both the brothers haven't got a chance to experience Swami's love. Themselves wanted to join the college, but somehow the policies of immigration between states did not permit that. So it was that both parents and my brothers were very keen that I definitely get into the college, and they spared no ends to do so. Later on, they all moved into Bangalore, and the greatest sacrifice which they did was they didn't opt for the officer's post in the bank in which they were working. The officer's post would mean that they would be posted elsewhere within the country in different states, and they would miss out on being in Bangalore, because that was the time when Swami was spending a lot of time in Bangalore, in Vrindavan, and they would not want to miss out on the darshans which they could have with Swami here in Vrindavan. So it was that they opted to remain as clerks as senior class and retired with that post. Later on, they were also joined personally by Swami with devoted families, and all of them became part of a big Sai family and enjoying Swami's chances in their own way. Their saga still continues with them being a part of the Sevadal and the Bhajan group. I am eternally grateful to my parents, to my brothers, my sister-in-laws, and all the family members who always continuously blessed me to be with Swami here in Vrindavan. So this area here has lots of memory to lots of people. A small family like ours has joined into the big Sai family with lots of festivities around. Festivities, when I was speaking of festivities, we also got a chance to accompany Swami to Puttaparthi for all the major festivals which would happen there. When I talk of festivities being there, I am very fondly reminded of one darshan session which we had at Parthi. When we were sitting around the sands, around that round enclosure, enclosing the Deepam, Swami was walking from Purnachandra side through the ladies towards the gents side. Bhajan session was on. Suddenly the bhajan started. He Nanda Nanda Gopala, Ananda Nanda Gopala. A thought struck me in my mind. Are? Swami, Ananda Gopala, you are gliding around in darshan. Don't you know this? This small Nanda Gopala is sitting here pining for your darshan, pining for interaction with you. Suddenly there was a commotion. And I noticed that instead of going towards gents side, Swami has turned into the students group. And with Swami, wherever his feet turned, there would be made a path. And suddenly a path got created from that leading towards the bhajan hall side. And lo and behold, I saw that path had been created right in front of me. And Swami was walking towards. He reached me, slightly bent down, and said, "Nee per Nandagopala," and walked on without breaking a stride, leaving me speechless and mouth gaping like this. A single thought which had occurred amongst those thousands of people, he had caught that and immediately acted upon and asked that question. He did not need to wait for an answer. Wanted to say, where am I? That was a very beautiful moment in this ambience of Prashantilayam. And in this very ambience, he gave us a chance to learn Vedam, particularly Rudram, with a great Vedic scholar, Sri Kamadhani Garu. A few group of us, about 9 or 10 of us, who got the chance to learn from him. And he was very meticulous, very strict. So too was Swami, who gave us lots of chance with this learning of Vedam which we had. Back in Vrindavan, he would test us for that. When I come back to Vrindavan memories in Trai, I shall relate to you this instance which happened. And the festivities continued even in Vrindavan. When I got a chance to enter this new building, this was also the same time, and it was very new, so Swami would give a lot of attention to see that aspect of the hostel life of the students stabilize. And whenever he would come for darshan, he would wave us out to the college and walk in to the hostel with few guests to show how his boys lived in the hostel. He would often go inside the room, open the cupboard, and he would describe how the students would keep the luggage on top, to keep the clothes in one section, to keep the utensils, to keep the books down, to open the cupboard, study there, and keep their beds under the cupboard. So the guests would look at Swami and say, Swami, no cot, no Dunlop beds. To which Swami would say, my boys, simple living, high thinking. Wow. The parameters for our life was set. With that statement of Swami's, our life's parameters were set. Apart from Swami himself, there were seniors who were there to guide us through the day's schedule in the hostel, right from 5 a.m. in the morning till night 10:15 p.m. after the night prayer with the lights off. And the whole 24 hours was beautifully divided into various activities from morning jogging to games to breakfast to classes, lunch, again afternoon classes, evening games and recreation, bhajans, bhojan and study hours and night sleep. This would hold good for us anywhere in the world, how to divide our 24 hours time. And Swamito was definitely there, coming often to the hostel and spending time with us here. He would come either for just that he would walk in, or he would come bring some guests to speak to us, or have some music program, some festivity where we'll have lunch with him, dinner with him, and discourses he would give insights into various episodes of Ramayana and Mahabharata. And many times when he would come, he would just walk into these rooms. There would be double doors for that. And one such occasion, there was one boy in my room from Kabul who had fallen sick. And Swami came and inquired about his health. And he wanted his temperature to be recorded. Now a thermometer was brought and inserted into his mouth. And meanwhile, Swami took up his hand, his wrist, and checked his pulse and just like holding it casually and said, 102, 98.4, normal. And he just casually made a casual statement which we all heard. Then we were eagerly waiting for that thermometer to come out. And lo and behold, the thermometer did show 98.4. And Swami said, in Cheppan kada, means didn't I tell you? It's normal. We were thrilled to the core, just to see that interaction, the way Swami would mention it and then make it very, very casual about what he already knows. This compassion percolated to all of us. So developed a tremendous love and bonding among all in the hostel under the able guidance of Sri Sudarshan, who was not only our warden but also would translate Swami's discourses, and Deputy Warden Dr. Lakshmi Narasimha. So much so that in those days of no mobiles, and there was only telephone connection, either you had to book a call, a lightning call, which itself would take time. And whenever Swami would arrive to Vrindavan from Parthi, he would have started, we would have not known at all, till he would almost reach the gates of Vrindavan. And then there would just a loud shout, Swami! And all of us from wherever we are, either we are having breakfast or lunch or dinner, plates will fly and they will just leave aside everything and in an instant come outside, stand outside the hostel or reach the bungalow residence portico and wait to receive Swami and have a glimpse of us. It also, percolated to one more aspect. When Swami, if he upset with the behavior of students, will not talk to them and will not even call us inside the bungalow or Trai residence At that time, everyone will be silent. Nobody will talk to each other, and we'll be actually like walking like zombies. But then, till the time, we'll keep praying, and then Swami will say, okay, past is past, forget the past. Now be good. And instantly the smiles would be back, and then we will again have a tremendous chances with Swami. Meanwhile, in all this, there occurred a self-introspection and correction automatically within each one of us. So this was the kind of atmosphere in the hostel, and later on, very aptly, somebody got a plaque which is there above saying, "This place is a home where each one lives for the other and all live for God." Soon there came a time, it be 2 years which we had a tremendous time with Swami. Swami was spending most of the time in Vrindavan, almost 9 months. And then also when we would go for festivity, we would go with him and come back again. So 77 to 79 was a gala time for us. 79-80, Swami decided to start the college at Parthi. And our batch got the chance to split up, and part of our boys from our batch went to Parthi, they joined there. For me, each of them was selected by Swami, and to me Swami said, "You be in Vrindavan here." So it was that I finished my BCom from Vrindavan here, and this batch of ours which went to Parthi had the unique chance of being the first to graduate from Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. And when that college started, obviously, Swami had to divide his time now between Vrindavan and Puttaparthi. He had to stabilize the college there. So, it was less time in Vrindavan. And also, there had a little shift of our standing inside the portico of his residence. We were shifted from there to Sai Ramesh Hall, where we would start waiting for Swami to come out and give darshan amongst all the devotees for all the programs which were to come henceforth. Just standing here is so overwhelming. I'm sure there have been lots of memories in this place for all of us. The moment we enter, we see a beautiful Krishna standing there. And he was first housed in Trai when he first came. And there is a small congregation of some guests, and some of us were there. Swami came into the veranda, and he was having a conversations with Mr. Nateshan. He was explaining to Swami how antique this Krishna statue is. And just then, Rajmata of Navanagar also walked in. And this is where we were a witness to a great relationship between the Bhakta and Bhagavan. Now, as the conversation continued, Swami involved her also in the conversation, and she started talking with Mr. Nateshan, saying, "How do you say it is antique? How do you authenticate it?" And such kind of a slight banter was going on. In between, Swami interjected, asked, "नहीं राजमाता, आप बोलो कैसा है? ये कृष्णा कैसा है?" Swami, she looked at Swami and looked at Krishna. Then again looked back at Swami and said, "Swami, मेरे कन्हैया जैसे नहीं है." And you could see if I would have to use the word blushing, Swami was so overwhelmed with her sincerity of devotion, and his response was so much of love towards her. We were a witness to this wonderful scene and were thrilled to the core. And after that, Swami got him shifted to the hall, and I think there were many who were involved in the positioning of Krishna Satya, I was not there, so I can't really vouchsafe for that. But I believe there was slight incline. It was not straight, and everyone had come down. And just to make it straight, Swami touched little and then made it straight. It's a huge statue. I mean, very heavy. You can't just move it without the help of about 5-6 people. And he just touched it and straightened it very, very casually. Nobody really noticed it, but yes, I think there were some who did notice, and that's how I can recount this. Another moment which comes in my mind as I see this ambience is when we had a festivity. As you're watching this festivity, the boys had got chance to chant Vedam as an escort for Swami's procession from Trai Vrindavan onto the hall. And the route which was fixed was from the Trai entrance, in front of Trai entrance, you start chanting and then come inside the first entrance here. And come inside and stop near the gen side, and Swami will go up to the dais. That was the plan. Now, knowing this plan, we thought those boys who had just learned a little bit of Vedam, we could give them the chance, because otherwise, when a long session happens, then we are little apprehensive of how the juniors will manage. So this was the chance for us to give them, I can say, a chance to be part of the procession and feel very happy about it. So having selected that, and they were standing there waiting for Swami to come. As Swami came down, we were informed that the plans have changed, and then we have to go right down to Saraswati and then enter from the front and then come down. We are all shocked. Now, it's a thrill to walk with Swami all around so much, but it's also a trepidation that we would tend to repeat our mantrams. What do we do? And we don't know, we'll exhaust, and what do we next? These boys started crying. Sir, now we will lose our chance, and we cannot chant so long. But the prayers were there, and this is where, how compassionate our Lord is. Swami came near just before we were about to start. He said, Cheppandi, Malla Malla Cheppandi. Meaning, you chant and keep repeating that. Oh, it was such a thrilling moment these boys had, that they were with full gusto chanting. They escorted Swami to the hall, right up to the dais. We were given a chance of arranging for a music program. There was a party which had been given permission by Swami to perform in front of him when he comes for darshan. As a part of the audiovisual team, we were not clear how to arrange this, when to arrange this, when Swami will allow them to come. With all these speculative parameters, still we said, let us be prepared and do our bit so that it takes the least amount of time when Swami comes out of darshan and they could assemble. Now, we made them sit next to the staircase near the lift, and what exercise we did also was, we brought them up to the stage, arranged the mics, made them sit, kept the height adjustments correctly, and again made them sit down, kept all the mics just next to the staircase on the landing and nearer to the railing. Then we were deciding what to do about Swami's chair. We had to whether to keep it on top, whether to keep it down. So we said, let us keep both. So we kept one on top as so we can bring it in as soon as Swami tells us where to keep. And we kept one down amongst the boys so that Swami could sit down and see the program from down. With all these parameters set, we were waiting, and Swami came out for darshan. He finished darshan, he went on, and came up and stood near the landing where the microphones and stands were kept, the railing, mics, and then Swami. Then Swami is asking, where are they? And having indicated, Swami saw them sitting down and called them up. So they came up and walked behind Swami. Swami kept standing there. And my pretend is Swami said. So I came running near Swami, and all the mics were down below in front of Swami, between the railing and Swami, those mics were there. So I quickly sent the boys towards the dais and kept passing the mics towards them so that they can, arrange it. Now, sitting there, it was a thrilling moment as well as one of great learning. After the program finished, somebody came and said, wow, what a chance, man. You were there and Swami was looking at you and smiling and talking to you. Wow. I said, thank you. And it was a real chance. But what really was happening was I was getting the firing of my life. He was saying, Dunnapota, Buddhuledu, Mundu arrange cheyakuddu. And it was like even that small planning of having a make them sit and arranging the mics should have been done even more quickly. So this really gave rise to the fact that we have to be so prepared and so well trained that not a moment should be lost in some aberrations which happen, and the whole focus can be towards him and him alone. This clearly showed how compassionate Swami was. He had to drive home a lesson. At the same time, it should not be noticed in public by all of us. At the end of it, what was the person who said, wow, you had a great time? Yes, he made it appear that he was so well conversing with me and smiling at me. At the same time, they never knew what lesson Swami was driving behind the scene. Really, that was even more thrilling to recount. Even as all of us were waiting in the Sai Ramesh hall for Swami's darshan, some of us, like the audiovisual team, the maintenance team, would put on the generator during the function, and some of the prasadam boys who had the chance to collect the prasadam from inside Trai Mandir, bring it out, arrange it behind this hall here, and wait for Swami's instructions. So one such festivity, Swami came out to proceed towards the hall, and some of us were gathered here, guests, these boys, the set of boys, standing there. And Swami came near and he was asking, Etla unaru? Then, with a sweeping gesture, he was looking at us also too. And then suddenly uttered, Gonti Alauddin. And he looked at me and went on like that. So, I was also feeling when Swami was conversing and talking like this with little, the deepness and the little hoarseness in the voice, I felt, and I was little feeling uncomfortable. And at the same time, Swami looked at me and wanted a response. See, this is where, with liberty comes great responsibility. You have a chance to be near him. At the same time, you should not take things for granted. Some of the niceties which in our culture would be observed, that when somebody is going for a function, somebody is going to out of the house, you don't really ask, where are you going? What are you going to do? No, that's not the norm. You should always wish well. Whatever it is, you may not know, but that the very fact that he is going to proceed to do some good work or to attend some function or undertake some task, one should always wish well. This point was driven very strongly in this episode, which I am going to narrate to you. And even as Swami conversing like this, he looked at me and paused. So I felt to give a response. And I, even now, I don't know how I really uttered those words. But I said, Swami, going to. Means I want to actually tell that there is a certain catch inside the throat, probably. If we can clear it, then it will be nice. So even as I was trying to tell that, Alayam Kadu, he said, and then he started walking towards the hall and continued walking towards the hall to attend to the proceedings of the festivity. And there we had Vedam, we had bhajans, we had somebody speaking before Swami actually gave his discourse. And when he gave his discourse, it was resounding. It was like a stentorian voice, and more than usual. It was, Swami was in full gusto. And after finishing that, Aarti was over. He came back into the residence, and as was the practice, or rather, Swami would always, after addressing the gathering, he would come back and want a feedback. Ela undindi, you will ask. And also, it was like, did they catch the point? Did they, to reiterate what really had sunk in within us? So, some guests should be around and will respond, Swami, chala bondindi. That point of Swami really, it was so well brought out. And then he casually again asked, ఎలా ఉండింది గొంతు ఎలా ఉండింది he asked. Swami adrindi means he asked how was the throat really. So they responded saying that it was so fantastic, it was so voluminous. Then as he heard this, and I was also conveniently for him standing near there and said, వీడు చెప్పాడు బాగలేదని. I put my hand on my head. Look at that. And I realized, see, this is what, when a person is proceeding towards a good work, you should always put in a good thought and wish well, so that that lingers on and in boosts the person's feelings within. And here Swami said, Gontu Bagdal Chippadudu. So, see, all the while, so much of activity has happened. Almost 1.5 to 2 hours have passed since that first conversations happened, and then to response of a thundering discourse. But yet, he wanted to drive this subtle point within me, created an episode. And the moment he said that, we'll made a little joke out of it and mischievously uttered this, what he had to convey, and then walked away. So this was it really hit me, so hard that even now it stays with me. And then whenever such a occasion happens, we always wish well that any task you undertake should always be good. The very same place, I also have witnessed a great confidence boosting which Swami would give to all the students. There were boys who had this fear of exams, and during exam session, we were all seated here for darshan. And as Swami came out, this boy expressed his fear. Swami, what I examined this Swami. Bhag rahe. But Swami would notice that he had a slight fear in his eyes. So Swami immediately waved his hand, created vibhuti, and give Tisco, Bagrai. And then still there was slight fear in his eyes. Namaskaram Chesko, I said, and gave Namaskar. And then he started giving that Vibhuti to some more boys, and kept on. You could see all of them then lined up to take Vibhuti from Swami's hand and take Namaskar as he was walking. And 100, 150, no, all of them. Then he came back, and again the lines were formed, and then he started putting bottus on the forehead for everyone. Everyone got this prasadam and this namaskar, and it was actually an end semester exam. They went and literally, I heard to use the word, thrashed it and wrote it like a test, ordinary test. And needless to say, when they got their marks in those exams, they were really very, very good. This was one beautiful thing which Swami, he would be there to boost your confidence in all your acts. And with these gatherings, we'd always also take liberty to ask some Swami photograph. So everyone would always cover one photograph with Swami. So then in this, near the tray door and tray steps, he would stand, and then one by one we would go and stand next to him, and then he would take ask the person to take the photograph. So even after some boys going and coming, in between, when the person has to reach and come back, and the other person has to go stand next to Swami for a photograph, say, Chudandra, you see, all of you are coming and going. I am only the constant one. That reassurance that he was, whoever may come and go in your life, I am always there for you. And this would be a real great boost in a person's life. And we would also say, Swami, okay, you're physically there and we can see you. How else when we go back, how do you think of you? Then someone says, see, now you're inside 3. You're all sitting around me. I'm talking to you. This will finish. This will also pass away. Then you'll go back home. Go back to your places wherever you are. But when you close your eyes and think of this time when you have spent with me, everything will come back within you. And you will see that whole thing is recreated within you. And you can feel the same bliss within you. Even as I say this, I recount another episode. In the previous residence, it was called a bungalow. We were all seated in that veranda where Swami would sit with us for bhajans, for any talk, like how we would sit in Trai Jula. That was a chair in the veranda. The center of the whole veranda was like a rectangle, and within the house. And Swami would sit in the center, and either side we would all be seated. The setting was that the moment you enter the main door, to the right is what would go towards the staircase leading upstairs to his rooms. To the left was a conclusion of the hall, and the center would go a little more deeper inside to reveal a small hall. Left side of it will go towards the drawing room or interview room. And the right side will go into one more room called the safe room. And it was called because there was a huge safe. It was, it had been there from the old setting of the bungalow itself. So one such time, we were all seated inside, and we rushed inside. Swami called us inside the residence for a session. We rushed inside and sat. Swami also came and sat, and in front of him, bhajan boys used to sit, and he noticed Dr. Ravi Kumar sitting there, who is now the current warden of Vrindavan Hostel. And I told you, we were all part of one group which had the chance to learn Vedam from Sri Kamadhani Garu. And having noticed, and we just, this was within few months of our learning, and having noticed Brother Ravikumar sitting there, he asked him, నీకు వేదం తెలుసు రుద్రం నేర్చుకున్నావు కదా చెప్పు. So he started chanting, and we had learned so much in such a way that wherever this chanting occurred, automatically within us we will start chanting. It's such a universal thing, that this Vedam is such a universal act, and it's so correct in its cadence that wherever whoever learns it, anywhere it starts, you can just join. It's like some of those classical ragas in music, where where anybody can join, and that's what Aradhana Mahotsav happens, and so many artists join to sing the Sai Pancharatna Kritis. So was this when Swami asked Brother Ravikumar to start chanting Rudram. Wherever we were chanting. But just look at this twist in the episode. The moment he started chanting, one Anuvaka was over, or in the middle of it, he's just told stop, and then he said start. He looked straight at where I was sitting, and I was sitting, as I said, right side end, almost towards the staircase which was leading upstairs to Swami's residence. I don't know when he has noticed, but straight away he pointed to me and Cheppu, he said. So I looked at, and I was thrilled to a core, and I just raised my volume and continued chanting. And for some time, then he stopped me, chalu. And that diametrically opposite, he pointed towards Brother Narahari and said, you Cheppu. He also, in the same mode, raised his voice, and this continued with few more people. And then Swami stopped it. Swami was too very happy, that we could instantaneously respond to what he had asked and deliver it well. And we were also, so thrilled that Swami done, and we could do justice to what Swami has asked. This is what in Brahmananda Valli the Anandas are described, from Manushyananda to Brahmananda. We really experienced that bliss when in that small episode it asked us to chant, and then felt happy. So any act which we really undertake, if it can bring happiness and smile on Swami's face, it will always give us plenty of joy, and we will always strive to do it with perfection. That is what he would always expect. In this very portico, the first month of our joining here in Vrindavan, one of the darshan sessions, Swami suddenly asked, who wants to act in a drama? The very fact that we are going to get close interactions with Swami made many of us put up our hands and say, we want to act, we want to act. Then Swami picked up all of us. I was fortunate to be picked up among them. Then we were practicing for this drama in front of Swami. Many sessions we had, very wonderful sessions we had. But a life transforming session which happened was when I was given a question to be asked in one of the scenes when Shankaracharya congregates with all his disciples. I was one of the disciples, and I was told to ask this question in that scene. And the question was, what is the secret of happiness? To which Sri Shankaracharya replies, the secret of happiness is not in doing what one likes to do, but in liking what one has to do. That very much set the entire goal in life. And it was like the drama of my life had unfolded in that very moment. As I said earlier, with all action which Swami does, there is an implicit or an explicit message. In this very portico, one of the darshan's times, we were all standing, and he was walking amidst us. Suddenly he spotted Brother Mallikeshwaran, my senior. He had just come in for darshan running and stood there. And Swami suddenly asked him, Yemi, Odipoyava? Means, what? You lost? To which he replied, Yes, Swami. We were wondering what is this conversation happening. Then next question Swami asked him, You like him or you like me? Then he immediately replied, Swami, both are same. Manchiri, Swami said. We were all puzzled with this conversation. So we were waiting actually for the darshan to finish. Then when we went back to the hostel, he was my roommate also. And I asked him, what did really Swami mean? You know what? This morning we had a table tennis match and I lost in it. So coming back to the room, I have a small altar in my cupboard and I saw Swami and told him, Swami, I lost. We were all, thrilled to the core. So very easily he revealed his omniscience that where am I? Wherever you see me, think of me, I am present there. In this very strain, we in my lifetime definitely I can say I would not have attempted to see so many celebrities in my life. I would have gone for some music concert here there, but really not to the stadium and or to the military camp. But being with Swami, we had an opportunity to rub shoulders with great giants in all these fields, be it the military people, be it army people, be it sports people, be it musicians. Speaking of musicians, I very fondly remember a session which we had in the veranda during this evening bhajan sessions. Swami had given the chance to Srimati M.S. Subbalakshmi to come inside and sing. Even as she had started singing, Swami had gone inside in the small room and she had started singing, Yaro, Ivar Yaro. As she was singing that, Swami came out of the small room and said, Who else but Lord Narayana himself? And it again, it's a cliche to word we use thrilled, but we are all ecstatic. And she was so overjoyed the way Swami responded to her singing. In the same place, we had one more session with Pandit Shivkumar Sharma, who was given a chance to bring his famous 100 string instrument, the Santoor. And in that session, I was doubly fortunate to sit right next to him. He was sitting opposite to Swami. Just right next to him, I got a chance to sit. Imagine, we have not gone to a performance, a concert, or paid for that session. In all these interactions with Swami, we were so fortunate to, be at close quarters with these famous personalities and, observe their devotion to their Lord. He was sitting and he offered his instrument to Swami for Swami to bless. Those sticks on top of it. And Swami very casually picked up those sticks and struck a note. He was looking with awe at Swami. And there was so much of joy on his face. He told Swami, Swami, आपने तो लकड़ी ऐसे पकड़ी जैसे प्रोफेशनल्स पकड़ते हैं. Swami just smiled and asked him to continue. So it was so joyous to see this interaction with devotee and his Lord. Needless to say, when he actually performed, it was so joyful, so wonderful. This was the place When Swami asked Dr. Hislop, whom do you like, this man or this old man? Right above Swami's sofa, there was a mural of Shri Baba, and he was looking what to answer now. He looking at Swami and looking at Shri Baba, but immediately for him the answer came, and he said, "Swami, I like him, Swami. I love you, Swami." Swami was so happy. He just waved his hand and took out that famous ring, which you now see his photos published in the books. Vishnu Bhagavan was there, within which Shirdi Baba was there, within which Swami was there. And then, Swami turned the ring and said, "See, this is the face of Prema Sai." But it was not so clear. Yeah, now how will I reveal? No, it will slowly reveal itself and you will know who Prem Sai is. Wow, what a revelation. Speaking of revelation, we also witnessed the famous personality, Sri Gunjur Narayan Shastri, who brought sacred palm leaves to be read in front of Swami. And this was about Swami's life. And one very, when we say that these palm leaves have already written everyone's tapestry of life, it also describes very beautifully the area in which people will be there. And one thing very caught my attention very beautifully was he says, the avatar residence will be next to Bahuchakra Vahana Nildana. Bahuchakra Vahana Nildana means what? The one, his residence will be next to that place where a vehicle with lots of wheels will stay. Means what? Train, railway station, Whitefield railway station. And even as he was reading, Swami got up and went inside the small room. And that man stopped. And Swami came back and sat on the sofa, asked him to continue. So when he continued, he said, at this juncture, the person who is listening to this gets up and goes, he is the avatar of that age. And we were all amazed. And like this only, we are left with our mouths gaping. Swami just smiled it away. We will also witness to the revelation of Sai Gayatri, the famous Vedic scholar Vandikoti Sri Subramanya Shastri Garu. When he chanted Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tannah Sarva Prachodayat. Swami was so happy. He gives the inspiration and he also gives a chance to offer it back to him. And Swami blessed him with a beautiful shawl which he himself put around him. We also had General Kariyappa who used to come and have Swami's darshan. And when Swami would say, "Kuch message do voice ko," he would just make us shout loudly, Jai Sai Dharma, and ask us to repeat. He would not be satisfied. Being a military man, he would say, "What is this you are shouting like? Ladies, shout loudly, Jai Sai Dharma!" And we would all echo, Jai Sai Dharma! He would continue that till he would be satisfied that we are, at our best. And Swami would be overjoyed at this whole exercise. And speaking of military people, there was one very beautiful incident which happened in Taribrindavan front. And suddenly Swami got up. Let me go outside and bless my devotee. What? We saw him going to the front portico and looked up. And lo and behold, in the sky, there was one helicopter which had come there. And then, in the salute of helicopter, a pranam with helicopter, they dipped the helicopter. And the helicopter dipped. And Swami raised his hand and waved at that helicopter. What a blessing! Colonel Lal had prayed to Swami that a new helicopter has come and wanted him to bless it. What a way to take blessings of Swami. Fantastic. So much we talked about human beings associated with Swami. In the Shanti Mantram, we used to chant Channo Astu Dvipade Chan Chatushpade. Now in Vrindavan, there are these four-legged beings in the form of Sai Gita, the cows in Gokulam, and the deers in the cage adjacent to the garden. Let me narrate small episodes concerned with these beings. Every time when Swami is in Vrindavan, as I said, a lot of time here used to spend here, Sai Gita also used to come off to Vrindavan and stay for a long time here. And every darshan, most of the time she would try and make it to the portico and try to have Swami's darshan. One such time when she came near Swami, Swami very fondly called her. She, in a characteristic way, blew her hair through her trunk into Swami's hair, and it revealed that soft ear of Swami. Swami would quickly push the hair back down. Then Swami would allow her to take namaskar. So very gently she would put her trunk and touch Swami's feet. Having satisfied her, having hugged her, cajoled her, fed her, Swami said, inka povachu. You can go back now. And you know what she did? She went back slowly, step by step, without showing her back to Swami. And then when she started going back slowly, she was so happy that she eased herself. There is Swami looking at her and looking at all of us. He said, Chudandra, look at her. Look at her devotion. She just doesn't want to show her back to Swami. Her devotion is so much, her faith is so much. You drink little of that urine which she has passed, you will get lot of devotion in your life. Speaking of cows, we just concluded our celebrations for Gokulashtami, and I was reminded of one instant when we had brought the cows here for Swami's blessings after Pradakshina around 3. So I had blessed them in front of the Kalyan Mandapam, and he had gone back inside. So we were also slowly leading the cows back, and as we went behind Trai, where the garage was there, Swami was standing there, and then few of the boys with the cows told Swami, we want to have a photograph with you. Swami allowed that. After that, somebody brought Aarti. So we started doing Aarti to Swami in the form of taking out Drishti at the end of the festivity. After some time, halfway through the Aarti, Swami called me to come beside him, took the Aarti from the boy's hand, gave to me and told, do Aarti to them. My Drishti need not be taken out. These boys who have spent extra time with me, people will be jealous of them. So take out their Drishti. What protection that Swami give to every one of us, even in the act of giving us chances. This is one regarding chances. Now, as I was mentioning about deers in the cage, there was a beautiful chance which we used to get. Every time Swami would try and step towards the cage to go inside and look at the deers and feed the deers. One set of boys would peel away in the opposite direction. I used to wonder where they would go. I saw them going inside the bungalow, inside Trai. They would go up to the kitchen, they would gather apples, they would gather a tray, they would gather a jug of water, they would gather a towel, they would gather a knife. And all this one person, and one person would go and get slippers. So as Swami steps inside the cage, one person would put slippers for him and he would hold the slipper. That was a great chance. Swami would put his foot inside that slipper. Then only he'll say. Then he'll proceed inside. Meanwhile, a person is ready with a tray of apples. One more person will take the apple and cut it. The moment Swami will show his hand, they would put those cut apples inside his hand. Meanwhile, Swami will say, dear, come. They would start walking towards him. Even as they were walking towards him, he would say, for all of us who are standing on the fence outside, that, see, these deers, when I call them, they come. These deers, when I call them also, they don't come. Leaving that aside, he will continue to start feeding the deers. He will sometimes throw those apples, or some of them will come near and take it out of his hand. So this was a great chance. And after that, he would, because the hand will get slightly moist with the wet apple, he would wash his hands in the jug. That was one more boy who was standing holding the jug. And then next, somebody else would offer him towel, and then he would wipe his hand, and then come from there. This was a great chance. Okay. Meanwhile, what had happened was, there was one boy with whom Swami was very upset, and he was not at all talking to him, not coming towards him. If he would stand, nobody else would stand behind him because Swami will not come there. So Swami made sure in every way that, he feels very miserable about himself. But at the same time, he wanted to connect with Swami, somehow want to talk to him and tell him, I'm sorry. But he was not getting a chance. He would try with Warden, he would try with caretaker Ramram Garu or somebody else. All means to try and reach Swami, but he was not getting chance at all. Now he noticed this chance of the deer cage and said, let me get a strategic position where I'll catch Swami. So in all this, he saw that the one place which Swami has to look and has to use is the jug of water. So next time when all of us got a chance to go inside the cage, I was holding the jug of water, and he said, brother, please give me this chance. No, I want to talk to Swami. And I knew his state was very, very pitiable. Nobody would want to be in that state. So I gave him that chance, and then he was holding that jug in his hand. And this was all after Swami had gone inside the cage and he was feeding the deers. So quietly he had come and positioned himself. So when Swami had gone little further near Krishna and he had fed the deers, he was coming back, and next moment we all saw Swami quickly bent down into the pond, washed his hand and came up and took a kerchief for someone and walked back to the bungalow. We were all shocked. That boy was totally shocked, and he had planned and he had created a strategy. But the master strategist with Swami was, when he had seen him, nobody knew, nobody could, all cautions were taken, but Swami had his own upper hand. That is because he wanted him to really learn the lesson of what he would have done, what actions he would have done. Needless to say, this really broke his heart inside, and he really did so much of introspection that soon he overcome with his prayers, and Swami started talking to him. Let's now talk about some inanimate objects which give us a beautiful lesson. rather Swami used them to drive home a very beautiful lesson. Sports meet time was a gala celebration time. All boys would get a chance to put up, showcase their talent in front of Swami. And we as a campus would plan things and do the practice here and go to Puttaparthi, simulate them here in Brindan and go and practice in the ground there. But more or less, we would have decided the programs. Now we wanted to take Swami's blessings for this before we started our practice there. So we would have had some photographs taken here, some small clips of what we would have done here, and some of those objects which would be used in that program. So one such time we had planned for an event which involved swords and shields. So we went about creating this. We can't buy obviously the original swords and shields. So we created. And what did we use for a shield? We used a bandli, a cement pan, which would be used in construction work. So we gathered that new ones. We put some handles. We welded some handles into it, tied it with cloth, made it like a dhal, a shield. We took some iron flats and made them into swords. Put a handle to it. Put a catch, which you can catch like a sword. So all this we prepared, and then we took it with us to Puttaparthi. So the first opportunity when Swami asked, "Ahim tisko charu." So we boys also told and teachers also told Swami, "We have got this item. Come tomorrow. I will call you." So with that expectation, 2 or 3 small groups were made, and we had literally taken some sacks with this swords and shields inside them, concealing them. And sure enough, next morning, Swami called us inside the interview room at Parthi. Then he asked, what is this? So we took out that shield and then we showed it to him. Swami, we have this item of swords and shield. It's a war scene. And then, the soldiers from both the army will fight with each other. Kalinga war scene was there. So Swami said, what is it? Bandli. No, Swami shield, and we had painted it on the front of it. And then Swami said, Then he saw the sword also. He said, sound vasunda, he asked. So we clanged it together and it made a big sound. Hee! Anta sound cheyudu. Don't make so much sound. All others will listen outside and know that something is afoot. So quickly we again practiced. So this is the beauty of Swami, He wants to know at the same time, he wants to keep it like a surprise for everyone. So that was the surprise factor which he wanted to show on the ground to everyone. So this event really came out very successful because Swami's blessings we had taken in the beginning itself. And we came back. So please follow me the time frame. We packed up everything and then we are back to our academics and the entrance exams also were getting over. The next event which was in line was the summer course. And Swami wanted to have this in the auditorium at the institute. He came to inspect that and then saw lot of creepers on the side. There was a framework which was beside the auditorium. This framework was filled with these creepers. Swami wanted to have the devotees seated outside the hall because inside it would be occupied with all the students and staff from all the campuses. And then he would want also the devotees to listen to a discourse which he would give every day in the evening. So the area was to be readied and Swami came to there to inspect it. So he said to Painanta Tisend. So he said remove the top leaves from the top of the framework. So we quickly removed that before the next session would Swami come. This was in the month of April. And so when Swami came next, I was sort of perched on top of that framework. And Swami looked up and said, he looked for quite some time in a blank stared towards me, and he said, "Chalu seve, samam se send." He said, "Enough seva, level it," he said. So I was little puzzled when he said that. And then when he said level it means the whole stem of it, which used to go along the pillar of the framework, we understood it should get leveled. So quickly, before Swami could come, the next session, myself and Brother Ravikumar went outside and searched for a big saw. And conveniently for us, the road people were using a saw to cut the trees outside. We quickly borrowed it from them. And every creeper which was coming from the ground up, we leveled it. So having leveled it, it looked very neat. Now, but there were a lot of undulations in the earth, mud there. And again, conveniently, a sand pile was available. We said, let's quickly spread the sand over this whole area so that it will be very neat for the devotees to sit down as Swami would want them. Now, how to spread the sand so quickly? We called boys, about 20 boys we called in the afternoon. Then we remembered that, we had packed up these shields, and they were actually essentially bandlis. So we said, let us get those, now that work, that thing is over, event. So let's get those bandlis and we'll use them to spread all the sand and quickly do it up. So we immediately got into action, got those things from the storeroom, distributed to the boys, and they started spreading it. And we came back, having assigned the work. Now, suddenly we saw that Swami's car had gone out before the bhajan. He went, came back, he finished the bhajan session in Ramesh Hall, and then he came off inside 3 and called the boys also. Then I heard that he was very upset and he was very angry. Anta paadichistaru, they're all spoiling everything. So nobody knew what really had happened, but this much that happened, that Swami had gone to the college and he had seen the boys and he was upset and the work had stopped there. And they had come back. So I knew something had gone amiss there, and I was in the hostel when already boys had been called inside 3. So I rushed to 3, and as I entered, Vide anta paadichistunnadu. So the moment I looked at Swami, the first thing I did was, Chamichin Swami, tappaindi. I didn't have a clue of really what had happened, but I knew it had upset Swami, and I would definitely should ask for forgiveness. So I did that very sincerely. So he seeing my sincerity, he slightly relented and said, Anta paadichistaru. And then he continued, shield anta bandlilaga use chestunaru. Then it hit me. Oh my God. In that instant it struck me. Let's see, when we showed it to Swami, and when was this? This was in January beginning, and this is April mid. We are preparing for summer course. So much time had passed, but we had offered that entire program to Swami, and he had owned it. So when we showed the sheet to Swami, Swami said Bandli. But we had made it into a shield, we had offered the program as it was a shield, and then we kept it inside. And in the meanwhile, Swami also said, shield anta bandlilaga use chestunaru, ఇచ్చిందని ఉంచుకోవాలి కదా. So when he said that, when it's being the shield is being used as bandli, what has been given should be kept well, should be preserved well. That means what? We have offered it to him as a shield. He has accepted it and he has given it back to us for safekeeping. How can we bring it back to the state of bandli? Swami used to beautifully say, you can worship a picture as God, not God as a picture. This was driven home so beautifully Though he was upset with that, and the moment we accepted that and the knowledge dawned, we accepted forgiveness, Swami just dropped the matter. He understood and prayed for Swami's forgiveness. Swami, we will take care, Swami. And he said, he just dropped it at that. But imagine the time frame which this has happened. And whenever we have the sincere offering, that was one which he received it and also made us feel that we are responsible for that. The corollary to this was, I mentioned to you that he said, Chalu Seve. I was still, after 1 year it hit me when I went again to that side of the auditorium, that when he said level it, he told us to level the creeper. But when he said Chalu Seve, actually he was telling Chalu to the creeper. Till date, almost 30 years have happened, the shoot has not come up. We had not uprooted it, we had only leveled it. It would have been still green inside. But the moment Swami said Chalu Seve, it had offered itself, it had done Samarpan to Swami. Let me conclude this Samarpan session with a thrilling incident which happened in this very bungalow. Remember, I told you that we used to assemble in the veranda for bhajans, for talks with Swami, of interaction with Swami. Whenever we would sit, as she would finish bhajans and we would go up the staircase, all of us would crowd round into that small ante room and see Swami going step by step up towards his residence and towards the dining hall. So we were always in that curious mode to want to have a glimpse of that upstairs area. And lo and behold, one summer, when only 100 of us were there, Swami said, you keep on calling me for lunch in the hostel. And obviously, wherever our students are, they would always want Swami to come to hostel, have some interaction, have lunch with them. So this should be our practice to keep calling Swami. So this time Swami said, let me call you for lunch in my residence. Wow. The very statement itself brought thrill to our beings. And lo and behold, we were there, ushered into that upstairs long corridor. The moment we climb up the stairs, to the left of it leads to a balcony where the famous darshans of Nagasankirtan darshans would occur. That is where Swami would stand up and give darshan to countless devotees who would come every morning in Nagasankirtan to have his darshan and to take aarti. As soon as to the opposite of the Swami's door, which would open to this corridor, was a grill window which would close with a curtain. And whenever Swami would come out of his room, we would be waiting downstairs to hear the click of the door opening and wait for his appearance near the grill window. And soon enough, he would part the curtain to give us darshan from down. So much so that this passage which is seen here, it leads directly in front of the hostel. And from there, if somebody would see somebody doing namaskar to that grill window, they would come running from there. And what would Swami do? The moment he is also here, the thumping, like horses will be running. And then Swami will, just as we reach, he'll close the curtain. So we will be so disappointed. So, Swami, how can you do this to us, sir? And within a few seconds, he'll again open the curtain and smile at us gleefully. And we would derive joy from that. So this was the ambience in which we were getting into. And walking down that veranda upstairs to the eastern side was another door which would lead to a staircase which goes down into the quadrangle behind. And this was separated by a wall, right side of which was the Gokulam area where lots of cows were there. And mind you, some boys used to take care of this. They would say that every birth of a calf or a young one would get Swami's attention and he would himself name it too. So coming to the end of this corridor, there was one, next to that door, there was a wash basin and a cupboard. Turning to the left side would lead us to the dining hall and the kitchen. So in this ambience is where we sat for lunch. And right opposite to this grill window, next to the room which Swami comes down from, was that famous divan in which you would see that photo of Swami sitting down on that and having a writing pad and writing something on it. So we were all seated in this corridor, and Swami, no, he didn't allow us to serve. He made our former warden, Sri Sudarshan himself, to serve us, and there were some seniors who were helping him. Swami did not sit with us. I don't really remember when Swami really sat, but he was there hosting it and walking down up and down to see that all of us had our fill. So we were so ecstatic. And among this ecstasy is where I got my learning too. Finishing this session, each of us were walking down towards the wash basin where we had to wash our hands. And next to that only Swami was standing, conversing with few and allowing this line to proceed and wash our hands and come. And as I was nearing that wash basin, there was one brother of mine who was in front of me. Suddenly I heard a very angry tone in Swami's voice. He said, "Buddhi le tu, mitat sota? Means, have you no brains? Is this your grandfather's property?" I was shocked to the core. What's happening? What did we do wrong? What went wrong? Was what was thought? And why this would happen at this juncture? But as the brother moved out, and I also went forward, I could see that the brother who had just gone off had left the tap slightly open. There was a trickle of a water. A trickle. That's when I realized how conscious Swami wanted us to be with water usage. It was like, do not waste water. To this day, that learning stays with me, and make very conscious efforts not to waste water, or if there is a wastage anywhere occurring, try and stop it. This was in way back in 77, 78, which I am talking about, that Swami inculcated in us the conservation of water. It's not that we should not use it, but when we use and finish it, we should correctly preserve it. So was with Swami that lot of these behavioral patterns got the perspective of which got set right. Even when we had joyous occasions with him, there was always a learning which was having undercurrent. In this place, we also had two very beautiful moments which you would have seen in photographs. There was a small cage next to the dining hall, which I had mentioned, which goes to the left side as we turn. And there were lovebirds in it. And you would have seen that famous photo of some lovebirds sitting on Swami's shoulder. This was the place. This was also the place when, having talked of Krishna, Swami stood at that steps which led to the dining hall and showed how Krishna would keep his hands on the flute next to his lips and cheek. So it was a very brief moment, but yet somebody had captured it. Of course, I have only the duplicate copy of that photo, but somebody had captured it, and he let us have the glimpse of how Krishna was in Vrindavan. I am sure you also have had lots of memories popping up in your mind. Thank you for joining me in this journey in Vrindavan through my journey with Sai. I also wish to thank my brothers in the Samarpan team and all my well-wishers who have taken pains to see that this session of Samarpan is so wonderfully executed. I pray to Swami to bless us all, to always be there as a center of all our activities. Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. A warm thank you to Nandagopal sir for this wonderful digital session of the 111th edition of Samarpan. The way Swami connects are amazing experiences, and it is forever etched in our hearts and mind today. The dears were offered love. Sai Geeta never turned her back. Students got all the attention. All the experiences showed the connect and the lessons to be learned forever. I am sure this digital edition of Samarpan, which Nandagopal sir shared, some of those experiences were very personal, direct contact with Bhagwan. It will help us to connect and introspect in our lives. Dears are welcome, they come, but we humans as dears don't come. Sai Geeta never showed her back to Bhagwan. Swami wanted us to imbibe that kind of a lesson. Once the creepers were told to stall, they never grew again, even after 30 years. Such was the command of Bhagwan. Conservation of water. I think one student learned the very hard way in the dinner session about wasting a trickle of water, and this was in 1970s. So imagine now in the present situation. So I would like to thank Nandagopal sir once again for making this 111th edition of Samarpan so memorable, so precious, with all the experiences. We pray to Bhagwan that whoever listens this Samarpan digitally or in some other time will always enjoy the blessings and the grace of the Master. We would especially like to thank Kamavdani Garu because Vedam and the way it was chanted by Ravi Kumar sir, Narahari sir and Nandagopal sir in tandem was a great lesson, and the amount of joy which Vedam gave to Bhagwan was a lesson for all of us to treasure in our lifetimes. I have some announcements to make. The next edition of Samarpan will be September 20th, 2020, the third Sunday. Dr. Ravi Kabir will be the speaker. I would now request all the alumni, the team of Samarpan, a warm thanks from our hearts for the technical team and all the team which has put this effort and make this edition a success and offer it at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. I now request everybody to chant Asutoma and Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu and offer our prayers. Jai Sai Ram and welcome on September 20th for the 112th edition of our Samarpan. Jai Sai Ram.